In today's video, I'm going to describe the top 2 reasons to have indexed universal life. Hey folks, this is Dave McKnight, best-selling author of The Power of Zero. There are basically 2 scenarios in which I recommend indexed universal life. The first scenario comes about when someone has too much money in their taxable bucket. As a reminder, any taxes you pay in the taxable bucket are, ironically enough, optional. Most experts agree that the ideal balance in that bucket is 6 months worth of basic living expenses. I will occasionally come across people who have 4 years worth of living expenses or more in their taxable bucket. Invariably, they ask the question, is it okay for me to leave that much money in my taxable bucket? To which I always respond, sure, so long as you're willing to pay the opportunity cost along the way. The truth is, having the wrong amount of money in that bucket could cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. Once you've maxed out your Roth IRAs, then an indexed universal life policy becomes a great way to reposition any surplus money in your taxable bucket to tax-free. IULs can be useful because they have no income limitations and no contribution limits. So let's say you have $600,000 in your taxable bucket. As part of your Power of Zero retirement strategy, you could shift $100,000 per year over the next 5 years to your IUL. Now, I know what you may be thinking. If I have my money invested in a 60-40 stock bond portfolio in my taxable brokerage account in the form of mutual funds, I'd still be better off than I would be in an IUL because my rate of return will be higher and my fees will be lower. Well, consider the following. Let's say you grew those surplus savings with one of my preferred IUL carriers that has a track record of 7.5% gross rate of return over time. Let's also say that the IUL's fees and insurance expenses will cost you 1% of your cash value over the life of the program. I can make the case that it's even lower than that, but let's stick with the 1%. That's a 6.5% rate of return without taking any more market risk than what you're accustomed to taking in your savings account. That's what I call a safe and productive way to grow at least a portion of your money. Now, if you could get 6.5% net of fees in your IUL, what rate of return would you have to get in your brokerage account to outpace your IUL? Assuming your marginal tax rate is 30%, that's 24% federal and 6% state, we take your net rate of return in your IUL, in this case 6.5%, then divide it by 1 minus your marginal tax rate, in this case 30%, and what you get is 9.28%. Add another 1% for the expenses in that brokerage account, and now we're talking 10.28%. And once again, don't forget all the market risk you'd have to incur to realize that 10.28% rate of return over time. By the way, the higher your marginal tax bracket, the more the math calculus favors indexed universal life. Now, you may say, hey, forget the 1% expense ratio. I don't think I need a financial advisor along the way. I can go it alone. I can manage my own 60-40 mutual fund portfolio while incurring negligible fees along the way. For argument's sake, let's round those fees down to 0. Okay, great. Then you still need to get 9.28% in that mutual fund portfolio just to break even. But it gets better. Because IUL doesn't require you to take any market risk, it serves as a suitable bond alternative, only it does so with less risk, a lower standard deviation, and a higher return over time. And if your IUL has just lowered the overall risk of your entire portfolio, you now have a permission slip to take even more risk in the stock market portion of your portfolio along the way. And that, in turn, means a potential for higher rates of return over time. All right, let's take a look at the other top reason why you might want to consider indexed universal life. Yes, you get tax-free growth and distributions. Yes, you get no income limits and no contribution limits. But if you're married and over age 60, there's one other thing you should probably be thinking about. Let me set the table with the following question. What do married couples over age 60 typically have 4 of? No, it's not dogs or even kids. I'm talking parents. And what's the likelihood that one of those parents is going through a long-term care event even as we speak? It's pretty high. We're talking about 75%. So a lot of the people who walk into my office have a single burning question in their mind. How do I avoid going through what my parents are currently going through when it comes to long-term care? How do they avoid rotating between children like my own grandma had to do? How do they avoid having to go into a Medicaid-funded long-term care facility, a problem which I highlight in my best-selling book, The Volatility Shield? Or how do they avoid having to resort to traditional long-term care insurance? By the way, there are 3 reasons why most people hate traditional long-term care insurance. First, it's getting more and more expensive all the time. Second, it's hard to qualify. You could live to be 120, but if you have a bad back, a bad hip, a bad knee, you may not even get accepted. And third, what happens if you pay for 30 years and die peacefully in your sleep, never having needed long-term care? You get your money back at the end? No, it goes to pay for someone else's long-term care benefit, and that can be a source of heartburn for a lot of different people because nobody wants to pay for something they hope they never have to use. So this explains the second reason why people choose Index Universal Life. You can get your death benefit in advance of your death for the purpose of paying for long-term care. Here's an example. Let's say you have a $400,000 death benefit. You wake up one day and you can no longer feed yourself, bathe yourself, transfer yourself, what have you. You can find one doctor to write one letter to that effect. Then they will start sending you 25% of that death benefit, or $100,000 every year for 4 years, for the purpose of paying for long-term care. Now, they may discount that $100,000 slightly based on the age when you receive the benefit, but the point is this: they're willing to give you your death benefit while you're alive for the purpose of paying for long-term care. In summary, there are 2 primary reasons why my clients choose to implement IUL as part of a balanced, comprehensive approach to tax-free retirement. First, it allows them to transfer massive amounts of taxable dollars to the tax-free bucket and grow it in a safe and productive way that rivals many stock market-based investments, net of taxes and fees. And second, is a heartburn-free way to neutralize the long-term care risk in their retirement. Why heartburn-free? Because if you die peacefully in your sleep somewhere down the road, never having needed long-term care, someone's still getting a death benefit, probably your kids or your grandkids. If you want to learn more about how to complement your Roth IRAs, Roth 401ks, and Roth conversions with Indexed Universal Life, be sure to check out my tax-free toolkit. You can download it for free at taxfreetoolkit.com. By the way, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to drop them into the comments section below. I respond to every single one of them personally. And don't forget to click like, subscribe, and the bell so you never miss a video. This is David McKnight. I look forward to seeing you on the next video.